Garcia, voice of the people. Garcia, voice of the people.
Hey everybody, welcome back to my top 100 games of all time, 2016 edition. Last time I did this was 2014. I'll be telling you the games that are in my 30 through 21 today, and I will also tell you the number where it was last time I did the list in 2014. There's a couple of new entries on this chunk of the list, but it's a lot of standbys for me. A lot of games that I would consider classics, and a lot of sort of mid-weight Euros in this list. So let's kick it off right away. Here we go. My number 30 is Race for the Galaxy, which was my number 20 last year. Also very high last time, not last year. It's been 2 years. And Race for the Galaxy is still my favorite out of Race for the Galaxy and Roll for the Galaxy. And I know when Roll for the Galaxy came out, a lot of people thought this replaces Race for the Galaxy. And I think it's a fantastic game. I do like it, but I still would say Race for the Galaxy is the best. It does resource management. It does cards with multiple uses. It does action selection. It does all these things that I like, slaps the sci-fi theme on top of it, and does lots in 20 minutes or so. And yes, I know that the symbology is sort of a beast in the game, so it's very hard to teach. And I definitely have felt that pain before. There's often times I will leave this game on the shelf because I'll ask the person I will play, do you know how to play Race for the Galaxy? And they say, oh no, but I'd love to learn. Well, not for me, because that thing is hard to teach. But if playing with someone that knows the game already, it's a great experience. And you start getting into each other's heads. You start, you play 2, 3, or 4. The expansions, I think, took it up to 5, if I'm not mistaken. You are producing goods, selling those goods, building more cards, finding technologies. The theme is sci-fi, sort of, it's not very specific. It's sort of like, yeah, these worlds are colliding, or, there's some alien races and whatever, but the gameplay is extremely engaging for me. Big thumbs up. It's a card game that sort of evolved from San Juan, from Puerto Rico, and so it has a similar vibe, but I like this theme a lot better than that theme, the Puerto Rico theme. And so Race for the Galaxy, my number 30. My number 29 was my number 15 last year, so very high as well. And this is a 2-player Euro game called Targi. Targi is a worker placement game that works just for 2, and it works unbelievably well. The game uses a mechanism similar to what some games have done since, like Quadropolis, in which you are placing a worker on a latitude and a longitude, and you are finding basically where they intercept and triggering that power. However, in Targi, where you put the characters on the outside, your workers, also matters. And so once you've gone back and forth, placed some workers, you then get to trigger all these things in whatever order you want to, and you will be gathering goods, and then you will be turning around and giving up those goods to acquire cards to your tableau, building cards, being careful where things go. Sometimes they have victory points. Sometimes they only give you 1 victory point, but they have some cool built-in power. There is a thief that is moving around the edge of the board, and when I say board, it's just cards. You're making up a board with cards. And when that character crosses the corners of that would-be board, you are raided, so you have to kind of prepare for that. You know that's coming, so have what you need when that's going to happen. The whole thing is quick, is beautifully illustrated, but it just impresses me so much that it is streamlined and it's like beautifully oiled gears just turning, on one another. And I'm impressed by that. I'm not a huge fan of that theme usually. I'm not a huge fan of grab stuff to then give it back Euro games. But this one does something that I don't see very often, and that is it does a 2-player worker placement game with a streamlined framework. Doesn't give you too much, it doesn't then take that framework and crush it to the ground with all this other garbage on top. And I just played it actually very, very recently, about a week ago. Played a couple of games of it, and it still just blows my mind how neat and interesting and engaging this game is to me. So that is my 29, Targi. My 28 is also a Euro game, a dice-based Euro game, however. And this was my 35 last time. It moved up just a little bit. This is Saint Malo. Saint Malo is an Alea game, and it looks pretty blah. The cover, I'm sure, does not sell it to a lot of people, but I would recommend, if it's a game you've seen on the shelf at some point and thought that doesn't look very engaging, to check it out. It's from very good designers. It is a game in which you are rolling dice and then managing what you do with those dice on a board that you draw on. So it has dry erase markers. You mark walls and you mark workers, the different kinds of workers, and you build little houses and you draw all this stuff on this board. And there will be pirates coming in and messing with you at some point. So you need to worry about preparing for that, or you'll lose points from being attacked. There's not a whole lot of interaction between the players, but managing this little world of yours is just really engaging. And I love the fact that every time you put something in there, in any of the little squares, you know nothing else can go in there. So every choice you make is limiting every single one of your upcoming choices, all of them. And I like that. It's not claustrophobic, but efficient, I'm not sure why the game doesn't get a whole lot of love. I mean, like I said, I know it's ugly, but the gameplay itself doesn't, I don't know if it's popular, but it should be. And if, again, you haven't played it, check this one out. If you like dice games that are not just randomness, but give you a good amount of options. If you like this idea of picking where things go, you have the whole little world available to you, and it's your choice how you tackle it, how you beat everybody else. That is Saint Malo, my 28. My 27 was my 87 last time I did this, and that's a huge jump. One of the biggest jumps on the list from last time, I would say. And I'm not sure why. It could be that that it was new to me then, and I was still not sure where I was going to place it. Anyway, it's Robinson Crusoe. And Robinson Crusoe being a cooperative game. It's called Adventure on the Cursed Island. It's its full title. And that's very evocative, because there are all these different things you can do on this island you'll be exploring and building with, depending on the scenario you pick, different goals and different things you really ought to worry about. It's a worker placement game, it's a cooperative game, it's a fairly complex game, it's a very good-looking game, it's a punishing game, it's very difficult, but it keeps bringing me back just because of its brilliance and how engaging and thematic it manages to be while being really a Euro game, pretty much through and through. That is Robinson Crusoe. Thumbs way up from me. It's one of the very best cooperative games out there. If you're a co-op fan and haven't played, you should, really. Alright, my 26 is a brand new game to the list. Card game. One of those, it's a genre I really adore. Card games where the cards have powers on them, they do something. And this is Elysium. In Elysium, you are managing these pillars you have in 4 different colors, and there is a display of cards you'll be drafting from. So to take a card, you have to give up a pillar of a specific color, and which ones you give up and which ones you keep and the order you do it in is very clever and really just a mechanism. It's not thematic whatsoever, but it makes the game what it is. And then, of course, all the powers on the cards and the fact that when you make the deck to play with in the game, you don't pick every card in the box. You just pick some of the decks. And so there's a lot of replayability depending on the makeup of the deck you are playing with in the game. It has a theme of grabbing characters, and then basically you can keep the card out front on your tableau to use its power, or you can then send it to Elysium and score it at the end of the game. And you have to be very careful when you do that, and you have to do it when you can also, because you don't always get to do it. You have to be very careful about not getting stuck with cards you never scored. Very good looking game as well. Of course, I say that about most games on these lists because I just like games that look good, I guess. It's a big part of what draws me to a game. But this one is fantastic, and I cannot wait if they do an expansion for it to come out, because more for this game is, it's going to get me so excited. I cannot wait to dive into what they could do with these mechanisms some more. That is Elysium, my 26. My 25 was my 11 last time. Very high. This is a party game called Pow Wow. And it's sort of like that poker variant where you stick a card on your head. It's not really a poker variant, but I forget what it's called now. Something poker. And so there's this deck of cards. You stick one on your head. You have you have something you tie on your forehead. You stick a card on there. And then, so you can see everyone else's cards but your own. They have a number on there. And then you will go around the table saying a number that you think is the total among all the cards, which are shaped like little feathers, all the feathers in the game, or less, right? You don't want to go over. And then the next player will either say a number that's higher and push that limit, or they'll say, no way, reveal them. Everybody reveals them, and you see what happens. Very simple game. I have played a ton of this thing, and I just love it. It's easy to teach. It's easy to play. It's funny to see people with people get into the silly theme of tying the bandana to their head, the ribbon, and sticking a feather in it, and the whole thing plays quickly. It's an elimination game, yes, but no one seems to care. I certainly don't, because it's quick. Just love it. Just love it. It's a game I'm very happy I came across and purchased, and has definitely paid for itself many, many times. That is Pow Wow. All right, my number 24 was my number 14 last time. It's dropped a little bit, and that is Factory Fun. Factory Fun, one of the most divisive games, quite possibly, on my entire top 100, and that is because the game has a real-time element, has a puzzle element, a very big puzzle element. It's a weird game, and I get that, but I like its brand of weird. It works for me. I'm sort of including also in this category, by the way, in this entry, Factory Fun and Factory Funner, a sequel that came out. They're distinct beasts, but close enough that I'm going to say this is both, okay? This is Factory Fun and Factory Funner. And I adore it. I find it to just make sense for me. In my head, it works, one of the very few games I tend to do well in also, which is cool, because I guess I feel good about it clicking for me. But again, you gotta know that you like puzzly games to like this one. But if you know you do, check it out. It's unbelievably interesting and thematically weird but engaging. The whole thing is spectacular, really, and it's something that I think to have designed takes a special brain, and so big respect for that to the design. That is Factory Fun, my 24. My 23 is a brand new game to the list, a tile laying game called Karuba, which has been making some splash in the board gaming industry because it is so very attractive and such a good family style game. Simple design in which you pick a tile, every other player picks the exact same tile you picked, so everybody has an identical set, and then you can play it on a board in front of you, trying to take little explorers to the temples that match them. Or so you can play a tile right on the table, or you can discard the tile and move the little guys around on what you've already built. You're trying to get there first, you score more points if you get there first, and once the game is over, you see who did the best. Very clever. As I said, a very attractive game. The theme is cute, makes for a pretty cover, makes for nice looking tiles, but it's not a very thematic game. But what I do like about it is that I've played this game with my nephew, who is 5, 6 years old, right? So, and my mother, and my father, and gamers, non-gamers. It just bridges gaps, it plays with anybody, and most people tend to really be engaged by it, and that's what I like about it so much. So that is my Karuba, my 23. My 22 was my 17 last time, also a party game and one of my absolute favorite games of all time. This is Compatibility, which at one point was in my top 10 games of all time. I remember that distinctly, and I, if I'm not mistaken, still rate it very highly, just because, again, it's a game that's given me so many memorable games. I have fond memories of playing this game with friends and family. Compatibility, you are picking a theme, a topic, a whatever, and then you have a partner and you are trying to pick from a deck of identical cards to theirs 5 cards, sometimes fewer, that make you think of whatever the topic is. And so you pick those 5 cards, you arrange them from the strongest association to the card, the topic, to the weakest association to the topic among those 5, and then you both reveal them, and you see if you matched each other, if you thought alike. If you do, then you get some points, you move on a board, you try to get to the middle of this board that goes around and around. If you get to the center first, you and your partner win the game. That's it. But it's a wonderful talking, it's a wonderful icebreaker. It's a wonderful opportunity to discuss ideas, to see what the other person, how they think, what they picked and why. It's a relaxing game also. It's a wonderful way to spend an evening, I would say. And so that is why I think of it so fondly. My 22, Compatibility. And then my 21 was at one point my number 7, so clearly was in my top 10. And this is Jamaica. Jamaica is one of the best pirate games out there, both because it looks pretty much the best out of just about every pirate game out there, and it does piratey stuff in a way that I enjoy. Does not get bogged down in details. I don't have to worry about knowing navigation, and knowing how to do these nautical, problem-solving stuff. It's just a race game, and you are rolling some dice, you set them on the table, everybody picks a card that relates to those dice, you move, you shoot the other guy with your cannons, you steal their gold, you grab loot. It's that game. But it's not silly either, and by that I mean it's not a kid's game. You do have to make choices that are tactically engaging and interesting. The person that really makes the best choices should win. And that's what I like about it, It has a vibe to the whole thing that just puts me in a good mood, I don't know what it is about it. Even when I'm the one getting attacked, when I'm the one having my cargo hold stolen from, the whole thing puts me in a good piratey mood. It's sort of like a popcorn movie puts you in a good mood if you feel like watching a popcorn movie. A silly action flick, whatever. This is that to me, and it gives me the same vibe. And so that is my 21, and that wraps up my 30 through 21, everybody. Thanks so much for tuning in to my top 100. Very shortly I'm going to be cracking into the top 20 games, my top 20 favorite games. So many unbelievable games in there. it's flabbergasting how many different styles of games are out there and how many of them are just so very brilliant. So, stick around for that, and thanks again for watching. I will see you real soon. Take care.
Z can be a little polemic. He stings like the 8th outbreaking pandemic. Z's got flavor in his top 100 games.
Lice shower.
Z Garcia, voice of the people. Z Garcia, voice of the people.